Quite honestly, the most common way to solve that in a brand right now is a sign that says employees wash hands before returning to work. So our first solution is a system called the hand scanner that actually identifies invisible contaminants on employees' hands.
Hello, I'm John Jannarone, Editor-in-Chief of Exec Edge. Very happy to be back here with Christine Schindler, who's the CEO of PathSpot, back where we met, in fact, a year ago, right here in Orlando at ICR 2024. Now, of course, it's 2025. It's a pleasure to have you back, Christine.
Thrilled to be here.
In fact, I'm going to add to that, Christine not only joined us last year here, but also at NASDAQ and in Palm Beach on the Tech Meets Hospitality panel, which you can check out on execedge.com as well. Let's dig right into it. So PathSpot emerged at a very critical time in food safety. We all know what was going on with COVID and all the things happening around it. Tell us about your journey from there, or from the inception to where we are today.
We've always been a group that is incredibly motivated by the impact we can drive in food safety, not only to make consumers and employees safer day in and day out, but also to drive efficiencies and operational benefits for businesses. And we started with hand washing and hygiene, as that's obviously one of the largest ways to impact safety. And quite honestly, the most common way to solve that in a brand right now is a sign that says employees wash hands before returning to work. So our first solution is a system called the hand scanner that actually identifies invisible contaminants on employees' hands. But from there, we've grown and expanded to all different sorts of food safety and operational efficiency technologies, including temperature monitoring, labeling and expiration management, digital audits and task forms, really to create that full spectrum of protection for the groups that we work with.
Great. It's funny, Christine, you mentioned that, because when people have asked me about PathSpot, that's what I say. It's a disruptor like many companies out there. And those signs you see in the bathroom that say employees, please, must wash hands. How long have those signs been there, by the way? I mean, was that part of the genesis of the company? Were you looking at these thinking, this is ridiculous, no one's necessarily going to pay attention to this?
Exactly. I was reading on the news day in, day out, and still even now, news articles every week coming out and saying the number one thing we can do as a society to help elevate our public health is hand washing, hygiene. And in a world that was surrounded by technology, and as a biomedical engineer myself, I'm looking at these signs and thinking, we can do better.
Yeah. So there have been some food safety incidents lately, unfortunately, with some very big fast food chains. How does this keep happening, Christine? Because I feel like everybody must know that the reputational risk is tremendous, and yet are corners being cut? What do you see going on from where you sit?
It's really hard, because these elements of food safety are known and we know what we need to do. But the reality of a day-to-day in the back of house of a restaurant or a food packaging facility or a hospitality area, these places are very busy, and the number of things that team members have to keep up with, the lines that are wrapped around the doors, right? How do they also make sure all their food safety components are being done? And that's something we talk a lot about with brands. No one wants there to be an issue, and no team member wants to not do the right thing. But with high turnover, new employees coming in, and also just lack of time in a day-to-day job, it's hard to keep up with those tasks. And that's where we really think technology can play a large role.
Well, how can you convince those who are pushing back and view this as a cost center? And it actually allow me to expand on that a little bit. Something I always think about is when Warren Buffett would talk about See's Candies and Coca-Cola, he'd say the amount of trust you need for someone to consume food or candy or a soda or whatever is a really serious thing, and you got to protect it. So what are these conversations like? People say, oh, that's expensive, I don't want to invest in that, it doesn't drive sales.
Honestly, it's table stakes, right? This is the baseline that we have to be able to have as a society, as a food supply system. It's exactly what you said. It's trust. Trust for the consumers who come in and engage with these brands, trust for the employees that they're going to have a safe and clean work environment that honestly has risks inherently in it by being around food and in being in such close quarters with other people. And so often I talk about that. What's the cultural difference that you can drive through investing in safety, investing in sanitation? And if that's not enough, think of the sheer number of hours it takes for someone to go around and write down the temperature in every refrigerator, or remind everyone to wash their hands. Having a digital way to do that actually makes sure it's done right and takes it off team members' plates.
Makes a lot of sense. So obviously with COVID, most of us, I think, really started using delivery a lot more. And I think it sort of accelerated adoption of food delivery. Mm-hmm. How do you fit into that? Because I guess from my perspective as a consumer, I'll see a little sticker on the bag saying, sealed for your protection. Is that good enough, or how are you guys involved in that?
I think at the beginning, it belongs with every single piece of the supply chain before it goes in that bag and getting the sticker on it, making sure that's safe and secure and clean, right? But yeah, definitely delivery adds another layer. And I think what is a tried and true in the food safety ecosystem is the more hands a piece of food touches, the more systems it goes through, the higher the risk for food safety issues or different opportunities for something to get in there. And so delivery adds one more layer of risk, one more change of hands. And so it's just a reminder that building out the systems, really creating the protocols and embedding those. And we have some brands that have the delivery team members check their hands before they take the food. It's really about every single team member that touches it throughout the system.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, we were in the green room talking about the different types of partners you work with. We're focused on restaurants up until right this second. Tell us about some of the other partners you have. It's anywhere food served, right?
Exactly. It's kind of the same thing. This whole spectrum of food safety, anywhere where food is handled, stored, or served. So we work with everything from farms, packaging facilities, cafeterias, hospitality dining, entertainment dining, all kinds of different restaurants, grocery stores, because you realize that all of these different areas, food safety is actually a unifier. All these groups may be very unique in how they market or what their logistics process looks like or how they operate their teams. But at the end of the day, the safety protocols are the same. Hand washing, temperature, expiration, those tried and true components are unique and custom across the entire ecosystem.
Great. Now, we've got some government tailwinds, I believe, with the Food Safety Modernization Act, which is about to be enacted in coming days. Tell us a bit about that and how it impacts PathSpot.
The Food Safety Modernization Act is all about prevention. Right now, our food safety ecosystem is very reactive. We say, there was an issue, there was an outbreak, we need to walk ourselves back from that. But at that point, the reaction happens because people have already gotten sick. It's already been reported. And quite frankly, that's not good enough.
Right.
And so the whole goal is, how do we get in front of that? What are the key risk indicators? What are the things we should be tracking? And then how do we create traceability standards across the spectrum so all of that's known and consumers can have that safety and trust? And so it's definitely something that we're working closely with brands as we partner alongside these components that are legally required, but also going to really elevate the safety standard and create that safe supply chain for us all.
All right, great. Christine, let's spin it forward for the last question. What's next for you guys in the near term and the long term? What are your big dreams?
We're working really hard, especially as we work in these different areas, with the global question. As we've entered a more global supply chain, components are coming from all over, and brands are global in many areas in many different regions. Our goal for 2025 is, how do we create a safe ecosystem across all of that, so that when you're traveling or when food's entering from other areas, you know that it's been safe across the board. So not only are we expanding the number of areas we protect against, the number of types of food businesses we work with, and the number of countries we support, our ultimate goal in all of that is, how do we create the safest system possible and build a safer world together.
All right, perfect. We're going to leave it there. This has been Christine Schindler, a great friend of the program. Always good to see you, Christine. Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much.
Once again, I'm John Jannarone, Editor-in-Chief of Exec Edge here from Orlando at ICR 2025, signing off.